If you missed your favorite show or interview, visit episodes on our website at theworldtoday.news. Now there really is no reason to miss out on anything on theworldtoday.news.
Farmers across the southwest say they are facing an uncertain future as the government prepares to introduce a new 20% inheritance tax on estates worth more than £1 million. A trailer of protest, dubbed the Trailer of Truth, is being towed through the UK, collecting signatures before heading to the Labour Party conference in Liverpool later this month. At Sedgemoor Market, campaigners from Farmers to Action brought the trailer to highlight their concerns.
The Trailer of Truth is here, having driven up from Cornwall. It's going all the way to the Labour Party conference to make the government hopefully realise you cannot tax a population into prosperity. Economist I am not, but it has not worked in the past and it will not work in the future. We're trying to scrap inheritance tax for everyone. Not just farmers, but for absolutely everyone. We pay tax on everything we buy, everything we drive, everything we go on holiday with, whatever it might be. To get taxed to die is ludicrous.
What's the strength of feeling like here this morning and throughout the other events that you've been hosting?
The strength of feeling is strong. It could be stronger. I don't think the wider public realise how much they will be affected by this inheritance tax. You know, old boys are being taxed out of it. Young uns aren't being encouraged to come into it. So where's the industry going to go? It makes no sense. They are incredibly short-sighted.
Former MP and farmer Neil Parish was also there to lend his support.
I think it's just great to see the farmers out. There's younger farmers here, very concerned about their future. We've got a Labour government that just doesn't understand farming. We need more food, not less food, and all this policy of inheritance tax taking money away from farmers will just produce less food and put farming families under real stress. So it's great to see everybody here. It's just a shame they have to be here because it's unnecessary to attack farming like they have.
Other farmers said they are campaigning for the next generation.
Okay, so I'm fourth generation farmer, my daughter will be fifth. We're doing this for her future more than anything. We're here to protest against the inheritance tax, which should be abolished for all, not just farmers. Particularly for farmers, I suppose, because we don't make them the percent profit on assets to generate enough income to pay a tax. We make about 1% profit, 1% value of our assets profit. 2% a year for 10 years is not affordable.
For many, the issue is about fairness and survival.
Well, we came today because we just want to spread the message and let the government know that we're not going away, we're not backing down. Doesn't matter what generation you are, this government seems to have hit you, whether you're the older generation and you're going to be looking at inheritance tax, potentially you can't plan for that now. If you're the working generation farmer where you're out there working all hours, your incentives have been taken away, your grants have been taken away from you, the young farmers have just had their funding pulled, and we're just here today to say, do you know what, enough is enough. We're going to have our trailer, we're going to write the messages to the government, we're going to take it up to the conference, and we're going to let them know that we are not going away.
Where do you see the future of farming if these policies continue to be implemented?
I see the future of farming to be quite bleak, to be totally honest with you. That what we really need is better prices for our products, and the supermarkets take less of a profit out of it, and then the consumer would be better off and we'd be better off, and then perhaps we could afford the taxes or the things that the government impose upon us.
In response, the government says only a small number of farms will be affected. But with growing discontent in farming communities, the trailer now rows on towards Liverpool, carrying with it a message these farmers hope ministers will be forced to hear. Lewis Clark, Somerset Live, Sedgemoor Market.
Yeah, very, very serious, isn't it? The inheritance tax in the UK, and I don't know what they're going to do about it. Government at times can just roll over things. Before we get into our first guest for this hour, and we are just flying by the seat of our pants, I just wonder if Cam can get ready for me. The video is titled Action. because this actually will show, just from a farmer's point of view, how serious the inheritance tax is for all of UK farmers. Cam, if you could play that clip for me.
Hello, Stephen Wainwright, Derbyshire, born in Cheshire. Family farm with my mother and father and brother and partners. I'm the third generation and I have 3 children, 2 lads that will be due back from school any time, and they'll be straight with the wellies on, helping sort sheep out for sales and fencing and whatever needs doing on the farm. They love it. A young daughter, so I've got 3 children. Now, I'm a member of Farmers to Action, and the trailer of truth is going round the country as we speak now, from livestock market to village hall to town centre, wherever. And we're all aiming to get to Liverpool, to the Labour conference, because they're not listening. They are not listening. We've had 2 changes of ministers. Now we've got Emma Reynolds and Angela Eagle. So come on, girls, girl power. You both look like you're more intelligent than the last 2. So come on, help us out. Let's get a bit of movement, because most of the nation is pushing against Mr. Starmer at the minute. Not just us farmers and people in the countryside, let alone the horse racing this morning. None of it's good. Extra taxes looming, so they've gone on strike. Another attack on the countryside. So come on, people, come on, great British public. Just Google it. Go on, Farmers to Action, or any farming group. Come on, please, join us. Get united. Let's all head to Liverpool at the end of September. The trailer of truth is moving with a great movement. Okay, thank you.
So there you are. It's I think farmers all over the world are being attacked, in particular at the moment in the UK. The trailer of truth is just a magnificent way of creating some sort of awareness. I'm sure when they roll up at the Labour Party conference, a little bit like the reception that the Prime Minister got in Ballarat. It was a bit like a Grand Prix, but there were tractors in the Prime Minister's car that were outrunning each other. It was a very, very almost comical scene, except it's very serious. Stephen Tripp is President of Australians for Better Government and Vice President, Let's Think Renewables. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
It's a very serious. Actually, I'll play before we get into this. I just want to play you a bit on Bowen, and then we'll talk about that and recent events. Cam, if you could play Bowen for me.
The pattern of natural disasters that Australians are used to is not a reliable guide to the future. Some natural disasters will occur more frequently and in places and at times they haven't previously been common. Natural disasters will increase most dramatically in Queensland, New South Wales, the ACT and Tasmania. And the amount spent on disaster recovery will increase dramatically over coming decades. By 2050, the number of coastal communities located in high and very high risk areas will increase substantially. And if current population remains the same, that will represent an increase to 1.5 million people impacted in coastal areas by sea level rise corrosion and other impacts. People in Northern Australia, including the Northern Territory, North Queensland and North WA, exposed to multiple worsening natural disaster risks. People in Western Sydney and the western suburbs of other capital cities will be impacted by lengthened heat waves under each scenario, with all the concurrent health impacts. Extreme heat will impact on the productivity of outdoor workers, and the availability and affordability of insurance will worsen, with flow-on impacts across the economy. Telecommunications assets are particularly exposed to extreme hazards, and very importantly, agriculture, farm productivity and farm profits have a lot at stake. With a high degree of confidence, the ACS predicts that the oceans around Australia will become more acidic, and longer marine heat waves with associated impacts on ecosystems will ensue. And the report says Australians will be impacted by a loss of important ecosystems and species by the middle of the century. Public health risks will become more pronounced, with significant potential for loss of life and strain on health systems, the report makes clear. Whether it be cropping, horticulture, cattle or sheep, fisheries, the report makes clear that Australians in regional areas will be big losers from unchecked climate change.
So there you are. I mean, truly, headlines there were "Man with low IQ plots destruction of Australia." Stephen Tripp. It's about right, isn't it?
Look, I put out a video in the last few weeks that's had over 500,000 views on social media, and it was talking about the lack of experience that Chris Bowen has had in the energy sector. Like, look at this man. He was elected to Fairfield City Council in 1995. He was 22 years old. The only experience that he had working prior to that was working for the finance sector union and also being a political staffer. So why does this man have the reins of the energy portfolio? He has no experience in our energy sector. He has no idea what he's talking about. And this report that he's just put out, it provides no new evidence. It just recycles old narratives. And these narratives are the same things that we're hearing about how sea levels are going to rise. You showed a footage of Port Denison there. You can see footage and photos of Port Denison like hundreds of years ago, 140 years ago, as that photo showed, and the sea level hasn't risen. But they're telling us now that suddenly it's all going to happen in the future. And this is what this report is all about. It uses terms like risks, likely, indicates. This is all language that is projecting into the future. It's not based on any hard evidence. It's not based on any hard facts. And it's just an opportunity for Chris Bowen to use this report to put his face in front of a camera and talk about this doomsday narrative that these climate alarmists always go on about. But the reality is it never happens. It never comes to pass. It's just more fuel for their fire to put themselves on a pedestal. But the thing that Australia needs to really struggle with is the fact that we're putting people like Chris Bowen into these ministries, running important departments like energy with no experience in those sectors, and it's causing huge problems for this country.
And it's going to just absolutely decimate the farming sector, isn't it?
Look, they're under extreme pressure, just like everyone is here, whether it be cost of living for everyday Australians or small businesses are really struggling. A lot of businesses are insolvent at the moment because they just can't compete. They can't function under this climate that's being provided by the government. But people, specifically in rural areas, and that's what Let's Rethink Renewables represents, people in rural and regional areas that are facing the reckless rollout of these renewable projects. I mean, to think about some of these projects, the vast of land that they cover. The Central West Arana Renewable Energy Zone is 20,000 square kilometres. There's countries that are smaller than that. And the Energy Co website says that that's the equivalent of a modern day power station. This is what's coming for our country, where we're going to carpet our landscapes, our productive farmland, with solar panels and wind turbines. So where is our food production going to come from? How are farmers going to be able to turn profits? They're really up in this stuff, unfortunately, is out of sight and out of mind for people living in cities, and they don't see the destruction that is taking place.
An enormous amount of misinformation, which is quite ironical because they want to stamp out misinformation, yet it's the ones that are providing that are the main offenders, which is another conversation. The misinformation is actually supported, though, by the Australian public. It's absolutely amazing how many people are highly oblivious to the fact that climate change. Sure, there's climate change, but the dangers are over stipulated or enhanced beyond belief. For example, if you look at the damage that cattle do or farm animals do with methane, it's 0.0003%. I mean, that's how nuts it is. Yet, if you ask somebody in the street, because of what legacy media are doing and what government is saying, and all collectively putting out one message, the Australian public, on that matter, would think that the cows are a bit like the old Geelong power station, just pumping out farts. But it's not anywhere near as serious. And sure, we need to look after our planet, but we're going overboard to the fact that we're going to kill the farmers, absolutely annihilate the farmers. And they're the ones who are the best environmentalists, because if they don't look after the land, then they also suffer too.
Words out of my mouth, you hit the nail on the head. Look, I think the narrative that's out there is completely in contrast to what everyday Australians think. We're told that people in Teal electorates, where I live in the northern beaches of Sydney, in Zali Steggall's electorate, they're voting Teal, but we're told that they're voting Teal because of climate change and they want to see climate action and all these sorts of things. Well, Let's Rethink Renewables did a survey in Warringah recently, where we surveyed over 100 businesses that are facing rising electricity costs, and a lot of them having to lay off staff and have reduced hours and switch off appliances just to cope with the rising electricity prices. The part of that survey that really stood out for me, and it really shocked me actually, was that over 66% of the responders said that they support coal being reintroduced to the energy mix to combat electricity price volatility, and only 9% of responders said they opposed it. So this completely is at odds with the narrative that we're being told, that the people in the northern beaches and North Sydney are voting for Teals based on climate change. I think we need to analyse it a bit further. Maybe they're voting for the Teals for other reasons, not just climate change. And maybe the Australian people do support coal more than what the media is telling us. So, I mean, these are things that we need to probably get more on the ground with Australian people and speak to them more one-on-one, not just rely on the mainstream media to tell us what the Australian people are thinking, because I think it's at odds with some of the evidence that is starting to come through.
Cam, could you display lies? I just want to show you and just which you understand, Stephen, but sort of demonstrate how the narrative, the entire narrative from mainstream media and also some on the other side are slanting people's attitudes towards this invisible catastrophe. Cam, if you could play lies.
Soaring numbers of heat-related deaths in the suburbs, rising seas and a blowout to the federal budget. Those are the sobering forecasts from a national climate change risk report that was released today. Live now to Josh Martin with the details from Parliament House. Josh, good afternoon. The government is talking up the positives of action here.
Good afternoon, Tash. Minister Chris Bowen admits every single Australian will be affected by these climate risks, but he says rolling out renewables and mitigation projects will bring economic opportunity. This report is the first ever national climate risk assessment. It was released this morning by the Australian Climate Service in partnership with agencies like the Bureau of Meteorology and the CSIRO. It modelled climate risks based on global warming of 1.5 degrees, 2 degrees and 3 degrees. The worst case scenario of 3 degrees by 2090 would see 10 to 14 extra heatwave days a year, causing heat-related deaths in Western Sydney to soar by 400% and by 300% in Melbourne. Marine heat waves like we've seen in Adelaide, South Australia recently, would last half the year. And the frequency of natural disasters is forecast to increase in Queensland, New South Wales, the ACT and Tasmania. Governments will spend an extra $40 billion a year responding to these extreme weather events by 2050.
There's a cost to pay if the country and the world doesn't proceed to take action. So at a time when the political debate is focused on the costs of action, both real and imagined, this report is a reminder, if we needed one ever, that the cost of inaction will always outweigh the cost of action.
China and the United States have slowed action on emissions reductions. It's causing the Albanese government to focus more on adaptation, spending $12 billion on programs, and it's released a new plan today. It's looking at measures like seawalls and protecting energy and telecommunications assets. Importantly as well, Minister Bowen will release the government's 2035 emissions reduction target this week. Tash?
Josh, thank you.
And there you are. You have the fear porn from Channel 7 being closely aligned with news.com.au. If you go back a couple of years to COVID, you'll see the absolute damage they did, and they're just ramping it up. And there you have I find it interesting, even in this day and age, this is how stupid they are and how bad they are. You have this great tunnel or great funnel, a chimney, and you have this terrible stuff coming out. It's steam. It's just steam. It's not going to go much higher than that. But this is the fear porn and the scare campaign that they're now ramping up, and it's all based on a lie. And I cannot believe that they're going ahead with this. And even a news poll, out of 1,264 voters, 18 to 34 wanting more action on climate change, and 45% of our voters aged over 65 calling for slower action. Well, still the majority there want climate change action now before we all boil, freeze, or just die of old age. They want it all fixed. And it's all, again, based on misinformation and the fear porn. What's your organisation going to do about this? Because you can't fight it. It's very hard to fight fear porn because, I'm going to die. I'm mortal, I'm going to die. Yes, you will die one day, but you are not going to die of climate change. How do you get that through to these numbskulls?
Well, you can see the images that Channel 7 were using there, images of extreme heat, shimmer, hail. I mean, these are weather events that were happening here in Australia since the first settlers arrived in the 1700s. I mean, we've always had heat here in Australia. I mean, I'm on the Gold Coast at the moment. It's known for the sunshine and everything like that. These weather events are not out of the ordinary. It's just what we used to call the weather. But when it comes to what Let's Rethink Renewables is doing, I mean, it's very, very hard. We're up against the media, but at the same time, we're up against this very powerful renewables lobby that is extremely well funded. I mean, Nick Jaws, the head of Coal Australia, was at our event on Sunday, and he was speaking about this in detail and how much money is being thrown into this renewables rollout. And when the renewables lobby pump money into political parties or political movements to get people elected that will push their cause, it's basically an investment for them. They put money into a political campaign, they get their people elected, and then those people push for further subsidies in the renewable sector that just inflates the coffers of the people that are invested in renewables. I mean, it's such a great money-making venture that they're undertaking, but the consequences for Australia, not only just for our economy is being smashed. We're over $1 trillion of debt at the moment, but our energy sector, our whole energy sector is being ruined with this mad rush to net zero, and it's all just to fill the coffers of a few renewables investors. So they've got the media on side, and they've got their own people on side pushing the politicians through a huge amount of money. So look, we can only do what we can do. I encourage everyone to head to let'srethinkrenewables.org and sign up to be a member. It's a grassroots campaign, but at the moment, that's the best that we can do. We're holding events around the country like we did on the Gold Coast yesterday. We're trying to get the real information out there, but it is an uphill battle, I must admit.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And then you look at all the handing back of the land to the Aborigines. I always thought that we were all equal, but obviously not. That's another discussion because we will run out of time. Stephen Tripp, always a pleasure. Thank you very much for your time. We need to make sure this is a regular occurrence because we are on the same page. And it is not just willy-nilly talk and, it might happen. The destruction of Australia is now underway, as with the destruction of the UK and other countries. And you wonder if they sort of all joined hands and having the same agenda. Most likely so. Stephen Tripp, thank you very much. This is the World Today and the Country Telegraph.
Can I cook outdoors? During a fire danger period, I can't. Unless it's not a windy day and there's a clear area around and above the cooking. There must be a person present at all times. have access to water. Before leaving, the cooker must be fully put out. On a total fireban day, I can't cook with heat beads and wood. To learn more about how to cook outdoors lawfully, go to cfa.vic.gov.au/can.
You know, there's many things happening to farmers globally. Looking at the UK, for example, the government wants to do all it can to shut you down. And in fact, in some parts of the UK, they're offering farmers to take some pounds, pennies and pence, whatever you want to call it, and to just plant trees. Because they're going to save the planet, you see. You may starve to death. And if you look at the trailer of truth zipping all over the place, telling people, and they were at the last place they were at was at Diddley Squat, which is a magnificent farm, and there was the public would roll up there and see this campaign to let people know that the government, through the inheritance tax, is going to create mayhem. I mean, if your property is worth $3 million and it's been handed down through generation, and you're only turning over 100,000, if that, how are you going to pay the tax on $3 million? You're not going to do it. It's just not going to happen. And if you look at Australia, we have truly, if you look at in Victoria, for example, we have the treaty bill. Jacinta Allen, who was booed in Ballarat just recently. And the treaty bill is just going to give all this land back to the Aborigines. They will control it. Look at Uluru or Ayers Rock. You can't take pics, no photos in certain parts unless you have permission. I think for the whole rock you can't do it. And there are some parts because it's sacred. You can't do it. Look at on the Gold Coast. Or the hinterland. Look at Mount Warning. You can't, I think they've overturned that now, but at one stage you couldn't climb it. If someone could just send me a quick note whether you can, but I know that Mount Warning, magnificent mountain, beautiful part of the world, no one could climb it. You just had to look at it from a long way away. And this is what the treaty bill will do. Look at around Redlands Council. There's a huge fight going on. Government's giving about 6 or 7 million, I think 7.2 million or 6.3, one or the other, to the Indigenous people of that area. Quantum Books or whatever the name is. Anyway, they're getting paid to go after the Redlands Council. And they have to then, Redlands Council has got to find their own money, because if they don't have their own money to defend, or if they haven't got enough, they're going to get rolled by basically the federal government. It says, bugger you, we're going to change the whole thing. I'll play you this. This is Treaty Bill, Cam, and it says, basically it says, when no means yes, don't forget we had a referendum, the Voice. When no means yes, this is Victoria's Treaty Bill, Cam.
So this week, the statewide treaty bill was introduced into the Victorian Parliament, and there's a lot to unpack here, so I'm sure there'll be a lot of future videos and content that I do in relation to this bill. I've just had a good read of the bill this morning. I usually do 2 reads, but the things that really jump off the page that I wanted to share with you, which strike me as really concerning, include the fact that Galungwal, which is the essentially the Aboriginal Parliament that this bill creates, introduces for the first time in a long time in Victorian history, in a sense it's going backwards, hereditary peerage into Victorian politics. You have elected members of the First Peoples Assembly of Galungwal, then you have reserved members who are appointed by Aboriginal land corporations and traditional owners groups. Now, those Aboriginal land corporations and traditional owners groups are not necessarily democratic. They're often dominated by 1 or 2 fairly small families from a particular area. And so you have a scenario where essentially Aboriginal lawmaking power and really vast powers introduced by this bill are not necessarily just exercised by democratically elected representatives of the Aboriginal community. It's almost like a House of Lords style reserved seat function, which I wasn't expecting. I haven't seen reported anywhere at all, and I think is a really, really big concern in this bill that all Victorians should be rightly worried about. We also have truth-telling in the Victorian educational curriculum that Galungwal will be responsible for, and we have a First Peoples Infrastructure Fund that's being created. All of these things are deeply concerning. There's a lot more to unpack, and as I review the legislation and continue to find things to talk about in more depth, I will. But I think that this legislation is deeply concerning. It's a complete contradiction to the vote that ordinary Victorians made in the Voice referendum. And whereas the Victorian people overwhelmingly voted no against the creation of a new, essentially layer of government, a new bureaucratic body, that's exactly what this bill does. And that's exactly what the Victorian government have proceeded with against the wishes of the vast majority of Victorians. So I'd love to hear what you think. You can see some elements of what I've been talking about in the legislation here behind me. Let me know, do you support Galungwal, Victoria's own voice to Parliament?
So there you are. It's truly they're destroying Australia, and it's very, very sad. The farmer is at the front of this and is getting bashed around their head. Then you got the wind turbines, the uncertainty of people have now taken those wind turbines, but they have no certainty that if that company, the private company, goes belly up, who foots the bill? Who covers the bill? The farmer. Look at these power lines, the interconnector. They can come onto your land and put up these great towers, huge towers carrying renewable energy, which is really interesting. It doesn't work anyway. So these towers are going to be pumping this renewable energy all over the New South Wales and Victoria. Problem is, if you have no wind, what do? You just got a bunch of cables lying around. But they don't consult the farmers. Oh, yes, we do. No, you don't. You don't give a rat's about the farmers. And isn't it interesting? Government, both in the UK, whether it's national or local, and in Australia, if it's federal, state, and even a lot of local governments. I mean, I think Glendon Watt said the other day that his council says, oh, it's too hard, we can't fight this. So what it means is that federal, state and local governments are saying, bad luck, you're going to follow this lie. We're going to install these giant towers to transport the renewable energy. And just a thought on that, when you have those renewable energy lines, and I think it's saying it's going to be some astronomical amount, hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. Think about it. The cable you have outside carries the power to your toaster or for you to watch Netflix. They have to be upgraded because the energy apparently is denser, much denser, so therefore you need new cables. Now, if you need new cables, the power lines you have or the power poles you have, they're not strong enough to hold these big cables to carry the green energy. So they have to put another pole just to take away the stress on those poles on either side. So you have a lot more of these poles around the place, a bit like a picket fence, but about 40 or 50 foot high. That's what's going to happen. We do not need this, everything's based on a lie. And there'll be people at the moment saying, he wouldn't know what he's talking about. Bull. There you are. I'm on the air, so I'll be a bit polite. Now, we're looking forward to a couple of guests, and would you know it, they're not here. So what we're going to do is go to a commercial break, and we'll play this beautiful video too. That's all about, we play some commercials and get into this video, and the video is all about pets and animals of those of the homeless. And it's a very, very sad thing. If you become homeless, you have nowhere to go. And it's a slow road upward up. We have our guest, by the way, so we don't have to play that video, which is exciting to say the least. I'm not too sure if he's set up. Jordan Ditloff, are you there? Good. Thank you for joining us. We just played your video before on the treaty bill. It's a very serious thing, isn't it? Because I don't think people understand what it's going to do to Australia. Could you just sort of summarise the impact it will have on everyday Australians?
Yeah, so Mike, as you know, in the voice referendum, all Australians, except for that wonderful place called the ACT, which is a bit of a different world in itself, voted comprehensively and overwhelmingly no when it came to the question of, do we want an extra bureaucratic body based on racial division? And Australians overwhelmingly said no. Even in Victoria, where we do face the socialist forces of darkness more than elsewhere in Australia, even in Victoria, the result was quite decisive. And yet here, barely even 12 months on, we have the Jacinta Allen Labor government basically ignoring the wishes of the everyday Victorian and bringing in treaty legislation and creating this new body. So this body is called Gallenwall, and it's going to be essentially an Aboriginal parliament. Now, the really interesting thing that you might have seen, I referenced in my video, that actually kind of shocked me, that I think most Victorians, even people who have sort of been paying attention to this issue, would be surprised to learn, is that this isn't just a body that elects representatives for the Aboriginal community from all Aboriginal people in Victoria. In fact, it's actually a mix of elections and what's called reserved seats, which actually is akin to like the House of Lords in the UK, where you're essentially giving a not necessarily democratically elected representative from each Aboriginal traditional owners group or Aboriginal land corporation, who are quite non-transparent, you could say. They're a bit of a black box, and we've already seen massive impacts, particularly in Western Victoria, west of Hamilton and near the Grampians and Mount Arapiles. The town of Nadamuck, west of Hamilton, has a multi-million-dollar international tourism industry for its free climbing at Mount Arapiles. It's one of the most well-known and revered free climbing areas in the world. And this little town, Nadamuck, has basically almost no other significant economy beyond small business and farming. And they've cut off 80% of the climbing routes for this town. They've driven all sorts of local tourism businesses out of business. And essentially it's shut up shop. And, you know, I think this is just one example of the kind of quite sweeping change.
Yes, you've actually gone, you're frozen there, which is, we're going well here. Cam, just take it straight to me because we have nothing there at the moment, just a a man without a face. It's very interesting too, because we do have a problem. Once we get Jordan back, we'll connect again. He's just frozen at the moment. And I would be too, talking about this. It's just a terrible scenario that's starting to build. And if you look around the Mallee also has that treaty there too. And I'd like to get Jordan's comments on the Mallee in a second, because that's where I'm from the Mallee, which is Mildura. And I was on the land there for, in my father's opinion, far too long. It wasn't very good. But anyway, so we're just waiting for Jordan to come back. What we might do is go to a quick commercial break, Cam, because hopefully we'll get Jordan back. By the way, this is the Country Telegraph.
Can I cook outdoors? During a fire danger period, I can't. Unless it's not a windy day and there's a clear area around and above the cooking. There must be a person present at all times. Have access to water. Before leaving, the cooker must be fully put out. On a total fire ban day, I can't cook with heat beads and wood. To learn more about how to cook outdoors lawfully, go to cfa.vic.gov.au/can.
And welcome back to the Country Telegraph here at The World Today. We lost our guest at the moment, so we'll have to probably resume tomorrow with him. Can't do much about it. It's all getting a bit stressful. This is where we need a beer after a hard day's work. In my case, picking oranges. And my father would disagree. He says, I didn't pick any oranges at all. I did. Ever pick mandarins, by the way? They're horrible things to pick. You got to go clip, clip, clip. And I got $20 a bin. No, actually tell a lie, I got $25 a bin in my days for picking a bin of mandarins. They don't tell you though, it takes a day and a half to do it. And they're really little mandarins. Lemons are good too, because you pick those lemons and you get to the top of the ladder because you're really brave and you fall into it. It's really good. That's why I'm no longer a farmer. Okay, we're talking about the homeless with their dogs. This is a it's a beautiful foundation. Cam?
My name's Yvonne Hong, and I'm the founder and CEO of Pets of the Homeless. started Pets of the Homeless when I realised that such a service wasn't available to help those who are experiencing homelessness or hardship with their pets. And back then it was just myself with a suitcase full of food, and I would walk down the streets of Melbourne every single weekend to hand them out to anyone in need. Basically, I just wanted to do something to make a difference, no matter how small it was. So at Pets of the Homeless, what we do is we provide assistance with pet food. We also help them cover the cost of veterinary care, and we also take in the animals and provide them with a safe shelter when their owners are temporarily unable to care for them.
My name's Michelle and I'm a volunteer here at Pets of the Homeless. They are our best friends, and people need to get out of certain situations. It's just so fulfilling and such valuable work that we do to keep best friends together, which is our tagline, and it's just so true.
It's either you choose the security of a safe shelter or you have to part with your pet. And a lot of the times people are actually willing to continue sleeping in their car or sleeping rough on the streets just because they don't want to be separated from their pet. So a lot of people, they don't have family and friends to support them. So their pet is their whole life.
So my name's Graham Collier and I'm a full-time volunteer with the Father Bob McGrath Foundation. So we provide free food to those who in need of assistance. And obviously, in addition to feeding our friends, our human friends, we also need to feed their pets. We live in a country in which there is a strange imbalance between a massive amount of surplus food and an increasing number of people in need. And if you look in there and look at all those amazing people packing up food, they've got heart. And I love working with people who give their time and give their personality. They're just amazingly wonderful people.
I'm Paul, and I'm a volunteer at Pets of the Homeless. My main role with volunteering here is doing all the deliveries. In the 18 months that I've been here, the van was never full when I first started. In the last 10 months or more, I go out with a full load every time, and you see, you get people that are coming up to you and giving you hugs and thanking you and everything else. It makes me feel proud and good. Sometimes it does bring a tear to your eye.
This team, the whole organisation is full of volunteers that are passionate. We've got the same passion. We love animals. We love helping. So I feel really valued being part of this organisation. I feel really honoured to represent the organisation.
My name's Julie and I'm a foster carer at Pets of the Homeless. Just giving someone's beautiful babies lots of love and attention and somewhere nice and warm to sleep. Pets of the Homeless pay for everything, all their bedding, their food, their vet, whatever they need. And I just have to give them some love and somewhere nice to live. And then now we've got Coco, and she's a sweetheart. And my dogs really love her. Labrador Cross Husky. Her dad has no home to live in. So he's looking for somewhere to live, and when he finds a home, she'll go back. It really makes me feel good about myself, being able to help someone, because it doesn't cost anything to do it. You just have to give love, and pets give heaps of love back to you. I was a bit nervous at the beginning because I thought I would be upset when they go home, but you just have to get it in your mind at the beginning that you're looking after someone's baby for them.
About to go.
Yeah.
Are you ready? And
action! Who's that?
My name's Jason Mutimer. Currently now I'm living alone with Sash. I work full-time in a bakery. In all honesty, she means everything to me. She's the one that I come home to every night. So I got her when she was about 18 months old. Leading up to the accident, I was in a pretty bad place. Prior to that, I'd lost my dad to cancer. I had a breakdown with some family, lost my job, got evicted. I was actually living in my car with her for a year. I kept getting rejected every time I'd apply for somewhere because I had the dog and It was just, it was a pretty hard time, yeah. When I used to live in my car, I used to always take her to this little place that I could actually let her off the lead. Since I'd been in this other house, I hadn't really taken her there, and it was just a Saturday morning, and we went for a big walk down there, and I thought I'd let her off the lead. She was just running, and next minute she yelped, and I thought she'd stepped on a bit of glass or something, because straight away she wouldn't put any weight at all on her back leg. Eventually I took her to the vets, and they just straight away said, no, she's done her knee. She's going to need ligament surgery. So a part of me felt guilty because I'd let her off the lead. Yeah, once I got that diagnosis, that was basically the only option that we had. And then Pets of the Homeless, off their own back, went and did a fundraiser, put it on Facebook, had a tremendous result, and raised well and truly enough to do the whole surgery. They don't know me, they don't know her, and it was within the space of like a couple of hours, and we'd already reached our target. Hundreds of well wishes, and absolutely brilliant, like the goodwill that's still out there.
Yeah, my name is Aaron and this is Spud. I've had Spud since he was a puppy. So he's 10 now, and I've had him that whole time, except for when he's been with Yvonne at the Pets of the Homeless. I had a bit of a rough patch. I had a workplace incident happen a few years ago now. I was unable to get secure, proper accommodation for Spud and I for some time. And that was when I had to make the decision to sort of put him into foster care for a little bit while I found somewhere that was suitable for even just myself. We've now got a beautiful apartment and we go for walks every day, and it's just like lovely having Spud at home and being with him every single second of the day. Oh, to know that Spud was safe was probably like the most... It has two sides to the coin. It's sad and you miss him, and it's somewhat almost depressing that you can't even take care of your dog. But it's also very comforting to know that Spud was taken care of very well. His needs were all met, and he was with a family that loved him and took care of him. And just knowing that I had time to sort myself out and get my dog back was just such relief. I couldn't even imagine if I had to surrender my dog because I had nowhere for him to go. I guess just as motivating as it is for a parent to get their stuff together for their children. My family and Spud are on a very even keel. Sometimes it slides. That day was like very exciting and new. I just moved into the apartment that same day. Spud and I were so excited he jumped up and knocked my teeth out. But again, it was such a happy moment. I haven't spent the night without him since I've been back.